I'm Anthony from Haslage, and you're watching Politically Crowded. If you've never seen this show before, it is generally a panel discussion with politics and comedy sprinkled throughout. They're probably not in this episode because no one's funny. Anyway, as a disclaimer... this program is not intended for children, the elderly, those with bad hearts, or anyone who gets their feelings hurt whenever somebody has a different opinion than their own. With that said, welcome to today's show, and the topic is video games as my voice cracks. So we will be discussing... will be discussing video game consoles. We're going to be talking about Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft. Also, GameStop, and if we have time, some E3 chatter. So I'm going to introduce the people here. I got with me Jeremy, the Madman, DJ, professional wrestling commentator, and referee. I also have with me Doug. He is an avid gamer and former GameStop employee. So we're going to start with consoles. So I gave the guys scripts. So we're going to start with Jeremy. So let's talk about the Xbox Series X. Go ahead and read the specs.
All right, Xbox X. CPU, 8-core X8 CPU at 2.3 gigahertz. We got the GPU, MD Custom at 1,172 megahertz with 50 compute units. We won't worry about the weight. Memory, 12 gigabytes of GDDR5. All right, memory bus, 384-bit. Memory bandwidth, 26 gigabytes a second. Terabyte or a 500 gigabyte, 2.5-inch hard drive. AV output, HDMI, 1.4 in-out, 4K, 1080p support, optical output, native 4K playback, and HDR support. The I/O output, three USB 3s. Communication, Ethernet, 802.111n wireless with a Wi-Fi Connect. And the controller, updated Xbox One controller, includes Bluetooth connectivity and improved wireless range.
Okay, so what I have in my script says the audio is 2 tin cans attached by a string, and the media is download up to 100 gigabyte Blu-ray discs. So you can download stuff where you can have the 100 gigabyte Blu-ray disc. Okay, so Doug, go ahead and read the PS5 specs. Hopefully the ones I sent you.
Yeah, it's gonna spin me while I'm reading.
Well, that's fine. I get you. Just fix yourself when you're done.
PS5 is looking at an x86 64 AMD Ryzen for the CPU. That's not a bad one. We're up to 3.5 gigahertz. It's got an AMD Radeon RDNA 2-base graphics engine GPU with ray tracing acceleration, variable frequency, and up to 2.23 gigahertz. We're looking at GDDR6, 16 gigabytes worth of RAM and 448 gigabytes per second of bandwidth, and 825 gigabyte storage SSD.
Yeah, it's NVMe 2.0 or something like that. Yeah.
The world is that number? What a weird amount.
Right.
I'm gonna guess that it's a terabyte, but they're saying how much is actually given to you once the OS is installed.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay. That's a bigger OS than the PS4 then. It supports 4K 120 hertz TVs, 8K TVs, and VRR with a Tempest 3D AudioTech and the ability to download up to 100 gigabyte Blu-ray discs.
Yeah. So now let's compare it to the lovely Nintendo Switch. So the Switch is its GPU, its CPU, and memory are all part of a NVIDIA custom Tegra processor. It can store 32 gigs internally, a portion of which is used by the system, but you can have up to 2 terabytes if you use a SD card. Video is up to 1080p in HDMI, and in TV mode it's 720. Audio is simple 5.1 channel linear PCM output. And then, of course, the media you can download, or you can use a proprietary cartridge that is currently, perhaps in the future, will be 64 gigs. I think The Witcher is the biggest game, and it's on a 32 gig cartridge.
Wow.
Yeah, so so 64 is coming. It just isn't here quite yet. So we'll start with Doug here. Doug, what is your thoughts on what's coming out here?
I think the PS5 has a lot to offer, specifically just in terms of content. The rumors that they have not fully confirmed yet is that it's going to include every PlayStation console ever that's came out as far as library goes. And
because they confirmed
So like
for sure
super
PlayStation 4.
backwards compatible.
What's up? Yeah,
Super
fully
backwards compatible.
completely backwards compatible. And I mean, the PS2 has probably the largest library in the world. Japan just stopped pumping out games for it, I think, within the past 5 years. It's just anything is on that. I think the Switch is a great family and portable option with a lot of really cool titles coming forward. And honestly, I am excited about what Xbox is going to be doing too. That's a powerful system, and if they really take advantage of it in a way I don't feel like they have yet, that could definitely shine.
Now you're saying off air you said you had a PS4, but you did not get an Xbox One.
I did not. I had planned to, and then they rolled out that thing where Windows 10 PCs are now essentially Xbox Ones, I already have a PC. I no longer need to buy the console, which was great move for consumers, a very strange move, in my opinion, for their pocketbooks. But I mean, hey, I bought Xbox One games that I otherwise wouldn't have because of that. I played a lot of Sea of Thieves when they came out with that.
Yeah,
How do you like Sea of Thieves? Because I've seen mixed reviews on it.
So I played I played when it first came out. I played it for like 2 months religiously. I loved it. Very great. But it didn't have it got super repetitive. And granted, they've come out with a lot of updates since I played that look really good. The desire to foray back into that game is still a little low just because I felt like I'd already kind of done everything.
Gotcha.
Okay, so Jeremy, now you said you have a Xbox, or
yes,
you were talking about a Switch and an Xbox, right?
Yes, I don't own a Switch or a PlayStation, but I do have an Xbox. Yes.
Okay, so are you going X, or are you going to cross over? What's the plans, man?
No, when I do finally upgrade, which, as we were discussing, which might be rather sooner than later, I'll be sticking with the Xbox only because I do enjoy what I have so far. Although there could be a chance that I don't know if I'll do an Xbox 5 because I'm sure the price of it will be astronomically high, but I might actually think about getting a PlayStation 4.
Okay. So to clarify, they have confirmed the backwards compatibility on the PlayStation 5 will for sure include PlayStation 4 games. They said at least the top 100 as far as the most recent press release, or the most boring Dana Carvey impression that Mark Cerny could do anyway. Yeah, I was like, I'd throw the picture up on the screen, but I'm like, yeah, screw it. You can go find the meme on the internet. So now this is something I was thinking about, like, what would I want in the next generation system? Obviously, I want minimal load times. No would be great.
Which apparently they said have been cleared up by 100 or 1,000%. Like they said, it's going to be blazing fast.
Right, because they Sony showed off the Spider-Man game, and you could basically traverse the entirety of New York the time it took to load the game in the PlayStation 4. Right, so that is fairly impressive.
I can walk across Rhode Island in that time.
I will say I love the Switch, but its load times are abysmal. If the same game is on more than one console, do not buy it for the Switch.
You buy a Switch, you buy Nintendo systems for the exclusivity. Although I still love when I used to work in game stores, people coming up to me and going, "Hey, do you have that Mario game on the Xbox?"
Well, I mean,
no.
I can see where they're confused because you do have a Sonic game on the 360, so you can see where the confusion maybe comes in, especially if it's a mom or dad that has no clue about gaming.
Yeah.
Right.
So the other thing I have is access to all previously owned digital content. The one thing I hate is the fact that I can't access my PlayStation 3 or some of my PlayStation 3 games, my PlayStation 2 games, and some of my PlayStation 1 games on my PlayStation 4. The other thing is, I have like a Wii U, 3DS, whatever, and they're all linked to my Nintendo account, but I can't access any of that content on my Switch.
Right.
And I've been working hard to spend money I don't have to buy games that I can't play on new systems.
Right. No, that's rather odd. You'd think they would do that, being that it was Nintendo.
I mean, Xbox and PlayStation have been doing it for years. So you kind of get access to some of your older content. Not everything. Xbox has been doing it really well. Microsoft
really
started at the
dirty
beginning.
folks.
It's going to be done well. Go ahead, Doug.
Nintendo's got a super dirty habit of re-releasing the same games like over and over again, you know?
But this one's X,
all
and then
those
this one's
SNES titles
EX, and then this one's RSDX.
Yeah, they came out with all these SNES games for the Game Boy Advance, and then they put them all on the Wii eShop, but you had to buy them again. And then they put them all on the Wii U eShop, but you had to buy them again. And now they're on the Switch, but all you need is a Nintendo Online subscription, which is only $20 a year. But you still only get access to the ones they add to the library, not ones that you've already purchased 7 goddamn times by this point.
That's nuts.
Doug, what are you going to buy? Are you getting these PlayStation 5? Are you getting the Xbox Series X? Or are we waiting for the Xbox, whatever the new Xbox Series whatever is? Like the lower end system?
I'm undecided. I'll tell you, I swore by the Xbox 360 over the PS3. I felt like the only reason the PS3 sold so well was the Blu-ray player. And by the end of their lifespan, I really felt like the PS3 had come into itself, but I was annoyed that it took them most of a decade to figure it out when the Xbox 360 was such a good console, sans the red ring of death issues. I jumped ship to the PS4 so that I could play with more friends than I could have on the Xbox. But that remains to be seen. I make my decision when I see what's in front of me.
And you know what's funny, Doug? See, I was the complete opposite. I was a huge fan of Sony. And I was like, yeah. Got PlayStation 1. And you're darn right I beat Final Fantasy VII. I got PlayStation 2. And you're darn right I played God of War. And then, I don't know what it was, but PlayStation 3 just angered the crap out of me. I don't know. I can't pinpoint what exactly made me so angry about it, but then I jumped over to Microsoft, and I've been an Xbox guy ever since.
Other than my friends list, and I'll tell you, I made a lot of friends playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare and Halo 3, and I don't get to revisit those old connections on the PlayStation, but I really don't feel like I've given anything up by switching. And in fact, as I touched on earlier, I've gained access to a multitude of exclusive titles, and I really think that Sony is doing a better job with that than Microsoft has been of late.
Because I think there was some type of debate of like the Xbox Series X and whatever its lower end model will be, just won't have exclusives out of the box. So the only advantage to getting it is if you want your current games just run a little bit better, which is that really a big sales point for somebody who plays Xbox?
I mean, I was never a type of guy. Now, mind you, do I miss playing God of War? Yes, I do. Because that is such a fantastic game series. But I've always gotten to the point where it's like, I mean, if I wanted to, because I have friends that have PlayStations, if I really wanted to play a game, I'll just go over there and try it out and then go from there. You know what I mean? So I never thought of sitting there and spending the extra cash to go and buy it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess I have to ask, what keeps people playing the Nintendo products? Obviously, it has to be exclusives, right? Is that the loyalty and exclusives? People who've been playing since
Zelda and Mario.
Yeah,
you just.
I got my Switch for Zelda and Super Smash Brothers, and that's not to say that I don't have like nearly a dozen games on it. I just got the new Animal Crossing. Super great for killing time while we're all on quarantine here. But yeah, it is. It's about those titles that Nintendo revisits and breathes new life in. It's about revisiting your childhood memories. I've been playing Zelda games since I was 3, and I'm never gonna stop. That's my favorite series.
Yeah, because I mean, Mario and Zelda are, of course, the two big ones for the Switch, and I believe that their exclusivity is what I mean. Okay, first off, Jeremy, you do not own a Switch, right? You just own the.
That is correct.
Okay, so you just own the Xbox.
Yes.
Okay, so then Doug, you own a Switch and a PlayStation 4.
Yep, and a PC that doubles as an Xbox One. I've got the trifecta, baby.
Okay, so I got the PlayStation 4 first because I had a PlayStation 3 and loved it. Then I upgraded to PlayStation 4 Pro because I thought, well, what the heck? I also have a Switch because I've bought every Nintendo system that's come out since the beginning. And then this holiday, I bought a Xbox One. Now, apparently, it's not uncommon for gamers to own both a Nintendo system and one of the other two.
Absolutely.
So I figure, that's a pretty good thing for Nintendo.
I just don't have the money to do that type of thing.
Well, I worked for Nintendo, which is funny. When I was buying my Xbox One, I was in my Nintendo garb. I just got off of work, and I was at the Best Buy, I think it was Best Buy. No, was it? No, I don't know. Target, Best Buy, whatever. And the cashier looks at me and goes, "Wait, you're from Nintendo? You're buying an Xbox?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, it's on sale for $150. Why wouldn't I?"
Right.
right.
Put a blow at somebody's mind saying a Nintendo guy buy a Xbox. Yeah.
But see, I'm glad you brought that up, though, man, because I think even though we have our preferences, I mean, Doug, what's more of your preference? Are you more of a PlayStation guy, I take it, then?
So, I mean, I grew up in a Nintendo household. If I had to pick a camp, it'd be Nintendo. But I did mention earlier that it's not a three-way battle. It never has.
Right.
been.
Okay.
It's always Xbox versus Microsoft versus Sony, and Nintendo's jerking off in the corner with a ton of money.
Right. well, that was my whole point. Was, to me, I think gaming's gaming. You always have the people. I'm an Xbox guy. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm a PlayStation guy. Okay, well, we're gamers.
Right.
That like I've always hated that argument of, oh, well, and like you said, right here at the I'm just like, oh, and I'm just gaming's gaming. It doesn't matter if it's PlayStation, doesn't matter if it's the Switch, doesn't matter if it's Tiger handhelds, it's gaming.
Right. And like I get it. If you're an adrenaline junkie and Metroid isn't as gory as Doom or Grand Theft Auto, then go play those games. But I enjoy both.
Yeah.
Okay, so looking at the stats for the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, starting with Doug, which one do you think is the best one? Just basically looking at the raw data.
Just looking at the raw data, I would like to point out that the Xbox One blew the PS4 out of the water as far as specs go, and I just don't think it's a better console because of that. I think that the PlayStation 4 has VR. It's got exclusive titles. I think those tiny differences in numbers, while great, are almost unnoticeable if you're really enjoying yourself.
Okay, so Jeremy, is your opinion the same thing, or do you think like one is better than the other?
Here's the thing: when you look at what they got going for them, we said that the PlayStation 5 has 16 gigabytes of GDDR6 RAM, and if you look at the Xbox One X, it only has 12 gigabytes of GDDR5. There are going to be little things that are going to put the PlayStation 5 ahead. I find it rather interesting, because, and I know we discussed this earlier, it says about the hard drive, 825 gigabytes. And then it says, the same thing with the Xbox One. It says that it's a terabyte. Now, here's the thing with that. I noticed something because I got one of the original Xboxes, so I had the 500 gigabyte. When I looked at storage, it has 384 available to me. So what they do is that they
gigs.
Yeah.
Okay.
So which means because of the 825 here, and then because of the 300 and some odd, whatever it was, because I happened to look, they negate 200 of that right off the bat for an OS, which, okay, fine, it is what it is. So I find that I would be kind of curious, because I don't have a terabyte in the Xbox. I'd be rather curious to see how much available hard drive space is on one of the terabyte Xboxes.
Because I mean, to me, it looks like if the 800. Well, first off, NVMe memory is super expensive. Maybe they say 825 because price wise, that's kind of where they were at. Plus, they already have maybe a dedicated hard drive for the OS, so it might be separate.
Or they partitioned it, one of the two.
Right.
Yeah, I've got to agree with Jeremy though. Who makes 825 gigabyte hard drives? Like,
well, it is a custom,
TLS.
right? Because it is a custom made NVMe. So, you kind of go, well, do they really? I mean, what do they say? Western Digital and Seagate. One of them's making memory for one. I think Seagate's is for Xbox, and Western Digital's for PlayStation.
Yeah, you are correct.
Right. So, they convinced the company to create a special size for them so they can keep the price at what we estimate between $500 and $600. Because recently they posted, Sony posted, hey, we're thinking it costs about $550 to make this system at the time of the post. A lot of speculation is, are they going to break even? Are they going to take a loss like they did for the PlayStation 3? Or are they going to sell it at $600 and make a profit? So, is $100, is the $500 to $600 difference really going to impact sales?
I don't think so. I mean, if they really sit there and market it hardcore, and they bring to the table what they need to, and appease the audience, I don't think that'll be an issue at all.
And also, I feel like for both Microsoft, well, maybe even all three companies, it's peripherals, it's accessories and game sales are where their profit margins come in.
Yeah. So I was, because I looked at these stats, I looked at these numbers. Personally, I think PlayStation 5 might have an edge. Only because, and this is the thing, they're going to suck power. PlayStation 5s are going to just be eating power, because they said they're not going to do variable power rating. They're just going to go straight up maximum power, and then they'll just wind down whatever is not in use or lower power it if as needed. Okay, so keep that aside. They're designing custom sound. They have better support. Of course, the Blu-ray is Sony, so there is actually a new Blu-ray format coming out. Sony could decide to throw those in future productions of the PlayStation 5 and say, aha, now our discs have 125 gigs of whatever. Because Sony creates the product, which then brings me to ask, is Xbox paying Sony for the use of Blu-ray? But that's a whole different story.
I mean, actually, if I could say something about that, everybody, I guess the best way is everybody's always in bed with each other at some point. You know what I mean? Like, Xbox and PlayStation are
xCloud
are dealing with something,
right? The xCloud thing, yeah, they're doing the streaming stuff,
right? But they're always, even though they're rivals, that they're working together on a few things.
Well, and to add to that, neither of these companies are exclusively game companies. They're technology companies, and gaming is just one facet of it. They've got a dozen other reasons to get together, and their little rivalry over their game consoles is such a small percentage of what they're about.
I'm kind of like, well, I think it's a lot of push to keep Google and Amazon out of their space, so they kind of have to work together to do that. And the PC market is actually larger than the console market. So, actually, the phone market might be larger now. I haven't seen the number on it recently. But I guess you kind of have to if you want to push them out. Now, Nintendo, I don't know if you saw the mini direct that was earlier today. Nintendo's pushing out some former Xbox and PlayStation games as collections. So, Nintendo was apparently working with these companies to get get access to their older libraries, which is a very interesting.
Are we talking exclusive titles or third-party?
We're talking like BioShock and the like. So they're getting access to stuff that used to be out on their previous systems, but are now coming to the Switch. Like Witcher, Project CD Red released Witcher, as we mentioned at the opening. The first 32 gig title, you didn't have to download anything. All the DLC content, everything was on there. Nice foot. Anyway.
Sorry.
Yeah. So we're seeing that all three companies are actually working together on some level. Like Xbox or Microsoft pushed some product, exclusive re-release product into Nintendo's hands for the Switch. So we're starting to see that they're sharing certain libraries. In addition to the fact that Microsoft said, hey, you can use some of our characters in your Smash Brothers game. So Banjo and Kazooie ended up in Smash Brothers. So we were seeing a lot of intermingling, and I think that's a positive thing. But again, I think it's to combat these streaming technologies groups because they want to keep consoles relevant.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing too. Like you said, it's nice to see that they are coming together. Because, you know, there used to be, I mean, it used to be in a formal Mortal Kombat, really, like, you know, I'm a Nintendo guy, and, you know, and then you'd see the Xbox guy coming in and blasting somebody, and then you'd see the PlayStation guy coming in and blast, and it's just, you know, you got this three-way dance of stuff, you know. Nice to see them, you know, come in and work together. I don't want to say there's a common enemy or anything, but
well, that is what it is. They have a common enemy. So what does that go? The enemy of your enemy is your friend.
Something like that,
right?
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's great to see some of that stuff come in because you had Sonic come in on Super Smash Brothers, right?
Yes, Sonic's on Smash Brothers. Yeah,
but
well,
Sega's been dipping all over the place for a long time now.
That's true, but I'm just saying. I mean, that's just one of the examples.
Actually, Anthony brought up Banjo, which was a great release this year. But don't forget the Wii U version of Smash Brothers got Cloud Strife from Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
So there has been some crossplay. I mean, I think Nintendo announced their first DLC for Season 2 for Smash Brothers, and it's the guy from ARMS. So
I don't mind the pick. It was the way they said, this guy's arms can extend, so we're going to have to extend our development time. I was like, that guy should be fired. Taken out back and shot.
Bad puns.
Oh.
So the next thing I had on my list is, I mean, it's great that your digital content's backwards compatible, but I really think you should be able to play discs from previous systems on the new system.
Yes.
I mean, we all understand that the next generation, PlayStation 6 and Xbox Series X2 or whatever they're going to call it, is probably not going to have a disc drive. But at least for now, I want to be able to throw a PlayStation 2 disc into my PlayStation 5 and be able to play Guitar Hero.
Absolutely.
Well, they do have a version of the Xbox which is digital only already.
Oh, I own it. I know.
Oh, okay. Okay.
They were testing the waters. That sold okay, but they're probably not going to do it until the next generation again.
And it sells for $249.
Right. That's why I got it for $150.
Not a bad deal.
No,
it's really not.
The other thing was I really want it because there's a lot of multiplayer games. Local multiplayer. Let's be clear. Where I don't really have anybody else to play. I'm by myself, so I have no one sitting next to me on a couch. I want to be able to have the option of going, hey, let me invite my friend over in California. I'm in Ohio, and we can play the local multiplayer together. A few games have offered it, but it's not a standard. It's not something built into the system. The game has to do it themselves. I really think that would be a nice feature. A lot of gamers just don't have anybody else locally anymore. When we were kids, I had my brothers, I had my friends. Now I'm an adult with no friends, no brother. Well, my brothers are often moved away and whatnot. But I would love to be able to play a game that is local multiplayer at home without having to take my system somewhere else. Okay, so the question here then becomes, what do we think is going to sell better in the marketplace? We got Sony with exclusives. Xbox Series X looks like it has probably more power, although we don't know some of the statistics on it. What do we think is going to be the big seller for the people then? Is it going to be the exclusives? Is it going to be power? I want to do a Tim Taylor, like, yeah. What is it more power? Is it exclusives? What is it, guys? We'll start with Jeremy. What's your opinion, man?
That's going to be tough because you're going to have the people who say, I want more power. And then you're going to go, well, I want exclusives. So to me, I think it's going to be preference. Preference to me, it doesn't. I could exclusives a little bit because it doesn't. I don't really care about exclusives all that much. You know what I mean? That just doesn't. It doesn't grab me as much as it does other people.
Okay, Doug, exclusives or power?
I don't care about exclusives remaining exclusive. I want everyone to enjoy the game. What I care about is not having access to those titles because they're not on the right console I bought. To answer your question, Anthony, I hope it's neither. I hope that based on exactly what you said a minute ago, I want to be able to throw my PlayStation 2 discs into my PlayStation 5 and relive some old memories without dropping $25 on a game I still own from 15 years ago.
Me too.
I hope that is what I hope they come out with that finally, and I think that if they do, that would be the deciding factor for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to the next topic. Hey, Jeremy, off the top of your head, I'm kind of just wondering, have you been hearing about the hijinks in which GameStop has been getting themselves into?
Not particularly, but I'm sure it's some sort of bump.
So, Doug, have you been hearing about the magical world of GameStop?
I sure have. As an ex-employee, I still got a lot of friends in the industry, and I still shop at the local store, mostly out of loyalty to those friends, more so than the brand. And it's a wild ride out there, man.
What's going on?
Okay,
so initially they refused to close when all the first businesses did, and they actually gave their store leaders, which, by the way, They did away with store managers a few years ago. You're now a store leader because that's a lesser qualification somehow.
Right. So they don't have to pay you as much and give you the benefits. Yeah.
They were given documentation to just shove at law enforcement if they were told to shut down.
Oh, this says they're an essential business. Let's be clear about that.
If law enforcement shows up and says, why are you guys still here? You're supposed to hold your ground and hand them a piece of paper from HR.
Hold your ground.
It's basically a Ron Swanson permit that says I can do whatever I want.
Hold your ground. So, do they got a pistol behind the counter?
Oh, hell no.
Like, come on. Like,
they've got a phone number for their superiors.
They are not essential. You know why? Because you can go on PlayStation, you can buy a video game. You can go on Xbox, you can buy a video game. You can go on Switch, you can buy a video game. Yeah. That is absolute dog crap.
And not to mention places like Walmart, which would stay open because of the grocery section of their store,
right,
also have the damn consoles and the peripherals and everything there. I agree with you.
Yeah.
And then Anthony, I don't know if you knew this, but are you still at GameStop?
No, I went to Nintendo, so
okay,
yeah.
So right before I know that Ohio just shut down everything Sunday night, I believe it was.
Yeah. So GameStop opened on Monday with
the day before that, GameStop decided, okay, we're gonna listen. We're gonna close the stores. We're still gonna work our employees, but you can't come in. You just come knock on the door, and we'll bring you what you want.
So it's curbside service, if you will.
It feels like a drug deal.
It really is.
So you go up to the door, or actually, what the process is, you use the app or you call in, say, "Hey, this is what I'm looking for," whatever. Then, if you paid online, they just open the door crack, ask for your ID to verify it's you, and then hand you your product.
I'm okay with that,
right?
At least if you're paying, because at least they're getting paid,
right?
But that only lasted for 24 hours before. Before the call came down to shut down every non-essential business, and they listed which businesses were essential.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so essentially, they wore gloves, and they would handle money and whatever through a crack in the door. And yeah, so I decided to wear a trench coat, walked up and said, "Do you got my stuff?" and she's like, "What's your name?" I said, "Don't worry about my name. What you got my stuff."
Hey, so, you got the goods?
Actually, it's funny.
You want to buy a watch?
Yeah.
That was the greatest thing I think I've seen all day.
Yeah, I went to yesterday. I ordered a comic, and I had to go to the comic book store, and the plaza refuses to have curbside pickup. So he made me park. He comes outside with the comic book under his jacket, hands me the comic book, and I'm like, "This feels dirty." He's like, "I know, it feels wrong."
Hey man, you got any of that? You got any of that Animal Crossing in?
Come on, I need it now. I need it now.
That stand your ground thing, just I'm sorry I'm hooked on that, but that seriously, they told them to stand their ground.
Oh yeah.
And so now that they're closed, salary employees are essentially getting paid time off, and everyone else can go.
Well, you know what happens.
Yeah.
No, seriously, that angers me because, like, okay, look, I'm in private security. All right, I have to go to work, and I'm okay with that, and that's essential because we are there providing a service to people, right? You're like that. Corporate greed is amazing. I'm just gonna say that, and I'm gonna be done with it because.
Well, what is it? The state of Ohio, they offered unemployment, quote unquote unemployment for anybody who was forced out of work for COVID-19 or the coronavirus. Yes. And GameStop made it basically impossible for anybody to get that because they still made them work.
Yeah.
So
that's a whole week of unemployment they won't be able to claim.
Exactly. So they kept them on the books without being able to do that. Now, I don't understand how because they just passed, or at least they were passing, a $2 trillion stimulus package to help people who are unemployed and some businesses. And the problem is, I guess these people have probably been screwed because up until literally Monday, was it Monday, Doug, that they told people to go home?
Yeah, it was Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. or Monday night. It was Monday night.
Right. So essentially, these people have only like 3 days. They probably didn't work through the week, and then weren't technically laid off, and now maybe they'll get their paperwork or whatever. But they're losing out on maybe a couple weeks of time they could have gotten some government aid that they're now just not going to get.
Yep.
And I don't understand who's playing the unemployment. Is it coming out of that $2 trillion, or is the company going to be responsible?
No, I don't. I don't think it's coming out of the $2 trillion because from what I gather, because I read a thing on how it is with the stimulus package. Apparently, if you make if you make less than 75,000, you get money, and if you have a kid, you get money.
There's two facets to what's going on here, and you're touching on one point, and Anthony's touching on the other.
Okay.
So there's supposed to be a check going out to every American, and that's what you're talking about. If you make more than 75,000, your check diminishes until you hit 99,000, at which point you get nothing. Now, on top of that, as Anthony was talking about, they're talking about adding a $600 bonus of sorts to anyone who's claiming unemployment.
Okay.
So you're still at work. You should be getting this $1,200 check. I'm not.
Right.
I should hypothetically qualify for both.
So you'd be getting the $1,200 plus the $600
plus whatever else I'm already getting for unemployment as well.
See, that brings up an interesting question because I'm self-employed. How does that even work for me? I don't think anybody's covered it. Like I do my own thing, and I pay my taxes in the beginning of February.
You got that going for you. Are you still technically working?
I'm not current. I'm because of the thing that's happening right now. I am on hiatus because I can't do anything.
Okay.
I don't fully understand it, but I have a friend who works for a marketing firm, and that marketing firm services a number of restaurants in the Cleveland area. So they don't have any work right now. But he's not laid off because of the COVID. He's laid off because their clients are shut down, and that creates a very complicated issue for him. You know, he's not making any money. The marketing firm he works for could hypothetically be forced to shut down because of this. Like their biggest contributors are these restaurants that I'm not going to name.
And then that should hopefully fall under he's going to get, hopefully he doesn't make that much money, so he'd be able to get the money, and then B, hopefully then he can get the unemployment.
I don't see how he'd qualify for unemployment because, as I said, he's not laid off. He still has a job. That job, the company he works for, just has zero income. The money's not coming in.
So then he can get it and rehire him.
Yeah,
that sucks.
You would hope that they would do that. So at least
works out.
Yeah, that does suck. Okay, so let's move on. The last thing is E3. Now, a whole bunch of events got canceled all the way through this fall, which is weird because the CDC says there's a pretty good chance that the virus will weaken during the summer, the warm weather, and then just come back with a vengeance this autumn. But we have E3 was kind of limping its way into summer. Sony had announced they were out. Microsoft was out. Right. Nintendo was the only one that had any type of presence really planned there. Do we see E3 coming back? Is it coming back? And Doug, what do you think?
So I know that PAX East happened right before all this, but it also suffered a number of withdrawals. Sony was not present. I can't remember the other companies off the top of my head, but I hear it did really well. That's a separate point, though. I think E3 has been sort of struggling to keep up for a few years now, and with the cost of, we're so close to when E3 would have happened, they may have already rented out space, sent out checks. And it's really going to hurt them not to have a conference this year. It could shut them down.
Yeah, okay, so and then plus the information leak. I guess more information got leaked, so no one's safe if they're going at this point. There's no guarantee of it. So,
right.
Jeremy, what are you thinking? E3 coming back? Is it dead?
Well, I'm not very hip to E3 as both of y'all. So I kind of posed this question of. Do you even see these things being feasible in the next couple of years? All right. So what do you think is the reasoning why E3 and whatnot is just, it's not up to what it used to be?
Now, I don't really know what makes these fail or succeed. As a consumer, I just sort of see like, oh, Sony's not going to E3 this year. That's sad. But I do know that, people are still buying tickets to these events. E3 reportedly has sometimes up to 3-hour-long lines just to view a product. And people are buying tickets. The question is what is E3 doing sort of to stick around? And it used to be that E3 was the name in game announcements. And now, we're getting to be where there's like half a dozen and they just can't keep up, I guess.
Right. And so is that because maybe it's just getting there's too many cooks in the kitchen at this point?
That's entirely possible.
See, now I feel like we're going to a era where maybe everything will be done on the internet. I mean, the companies other than Sony's questionable technical panel are pretty much set to just do these things on the internet. Like, do we even really need everybody to get together and basically swap spit or germs and not bathe for 3 days? I feel like we're moving to an age where people can do virtual conventions. Like, do we really need to keep doing these things? Although I do understand that the local economies make a lot of money from these events. Well, and apparently one city actually relies on their gaming events so much that without the $2 billion, whatever they were going to make, they simply can't operate. It's like that important.
Well, these are business conferences, where multi-million to billion-dollar companies are showcasing their latest, creations. But for a lot of the attendees, it's almost like Comic-Con. There's a lot of draw to just go and hang out and dress up and have a good time. And as I mentioned, people are still buying tickets by the thousands.
The other thing too is like, if actually you really want to hope that E3 does stick around, because and I hate to bring in wrestling in this, but when you have a WrestleMania now, mind you, with the stuff that's going on, it's going to be a little bit of a hit this year. But when you have something like a WrestleMania come in, the economy of that city booms.
Oh, absolutely.
And so you would hope that the E3 sticks around so that the economy, because not that they sit there and expect it, but it's definitely a nice little helper outer, you know what I mean?
Right. I've had the pleasure of attending Gen Con in Indianapolis, and not only is that extremely important to that city's economy, but the city itself just opens up for the attendees. They're excited. They're happy to see you. They love to go the extra mile. I went to a restaurant downtown Indianapolis that turns itself into a Dungeons and Dragons themed
nice
for the entirety of
that is awesome.
And I can't imagine that it's an easy feat to go through such a transformation, but they seem to live.
If you got the will and you got the way, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I can't remember. I think it was in San Diego for the Comic-Con. The businesses actually make their half of their annual income from the event themselves. So when the event is canceled, they basically end up maybe closing at the end of the year.
Right.
It's that important. So that economically, these events are super important, but technologically, other than maybe getting some hands-on time with a new console, some companies like so far Sony and Microsoft have said, you know what, we're just gonna show you some videos. That's good enough.
Yeah. And I think that comes down to how much time and money are those bigger companies going to invest in this dog and pony show when it doesn't really benefit them as much as it does the local economy. Like someone mentioned leaks earlier. Like if Microsoft shells out $7 million to have the most kick-ass presentation anyone's ever seen, and then all their information gets leaked. Like, sure, the convention does well, but Microsoft just basically wasted every dime of that.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, with that, let's do some closing arguments because we're gonna go into court. Yay! So starting with Jeremy, anything else you want that we covered today that you want to wrap up on?
No, I think we covered a fantastic array of topic here. Actually, Doug, I'm glad to have met you. It's been a pleasure of bouncing these things off of your head there, being that you've been a part of GameStop and whatnot. So that's awesome. And I like I said, I think PlayStation 5, if it has a few key elements, I think a lot of people will be happy. I still think you're going to have your Xbox guys, but they might do the whole thing of having both, and there's nothing wrong with that either.
Yeah, thank you, Jeremy. And I think that honestly, to use a little bit of hyperbole, we might live in the golden age of gaming. If these promises of true backwards compatibility come to fruition, if the Xbox and the PlayStation are as powerful as they claim to be, we already have the Nintendo Switch, which is like a marriage between a GameCube and a Game Boy Advance, to go back to 2001. What else do we need? It's only going to get better from here, and I don't think there's any reason to pick one camp.
Okay. And thanks, Doug and Jeremy, for participating today. And for those of you who are watching, I will throw into the description the statistics I grabbed from the official websites. And thank you all for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. Bye, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching this video. We would also like to thank our contributors and patrons for supporting this video. If you wish to add to the discussion, post a comment below. Please remember to like, subscribe, and check out our other videos.
Thank you for checking out our content. Before you leave, please remember to click like and then subscribe. If you want to receive notifications, do not forget to enable them by clicking on the bell. Then afterwards, check out our social media at HaslageNet and our website at haslage.net.